Good evening. This is the monthly meeting of the Norwalk Parking Authority in our regularly scheduled session. We will kick tonight off with welcoming Pam and Matt. We're very grateful to you for joining us and are very excited to having you on board. You bring your expertise in unique areas to what the Commission has already, and we greatly appreciate you accepting this position, and we're glad to hear that that everything went well at the Common Council last night.
That's right. You guys have been busy back-to-back nights.
So James, if you'll pull up the agenda, but and in Tom's absence, I guess you know, just to thank him for his dedication and years on the Parking Authority. You know, Judd, you have a longer history on the Parking Authority, and you remember him farther back than I do. But I always valued his input, his contributions, and his perspective. So we wish him well, and he's enjoying, as he put it to me, he'll be enjoying more time with his family, and now his grandkids are in the family, so he'll be enjoying that. So we wish him well, and we appreciate all of his time with us. So the first item on the agenda is public comment. So Darlene, do you see any?
I do not. James, can you just stop sharing for 1 second, because I can't.
Of course.
See. Sorry.
Not a problem.
No, we have no attendees.
Okay. So then we'll just move on to the next agenda item, which is the parking, the meeting minutes. So if there are, Judd, if you have comments or questions on that, if not, then James, I don't know how we vote, because Judd and I are not a quorum, and Matt and Pam weren't there. So
That is a good point.
I mean, we could, unless Judd has some things to change, we could, vote on it and then just note that, that it was not a quorum. I don't think it's a big deal, but.
Honestly, I'm not sure of the rules on that one. We could always pause on that and circle back to it. If Jim joins us, he may be a little bit more familiar with the rules and regulations when it comes to that.
Okay, so Judd, do you have any comments on it? Judd?
No, it's fine. I did read it, and they're fine as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, great. So we'll come back on the procedural question next or later. So in the financial and operating report, Stati, do you want to walk us through that?
Sure. Rocky, are you able to pull it up, or do you want me to pull it up here?
I've got to stop sharing. Hang on.
Oh yeah,
There you go.
give Rocky a second here. You're on mute, Rock, just so you know.
Can you see it on the screen?
Oh, there we go. Yep, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so this month, and again, I guess for the new members, we're providing a monthly operating report combined with a financial report, and this is kind of a new format. So if there's certain things you'd want to see, you can certainly ask us, and we can provide that for you if everybody agrees. So the revenue expenses, they continue to be favorable to budget. We're seeing on the revenue side, trending upward since the Omicron variant in December and January. And specifically in the non-commuter locations, those are all performing actually near, at, or above pre-COVID levels. The rail station facilities are the ones that are still a little behind. They're still trending up, but they're at about 53% of pre-COVID levels. Permits have been slowly recovering. They're a little more stable as far as the revenue stream, but they're at about 82% of pre-COVID levels. If you scroll down, Rock, the variance report, as we said, expenses were still favorable to budget, but we do provide a variance report on items that are major variances that are both 20% positive or negative and 5,000 off the budget. So I don't need to go through them all, but there's one that I realized I missed, and that was the service contracts, which was significantly over budget. And then looking through that, some of that is the final payment on the auditor, and some of the GTECHNA management fees or service fees that were we made them a double payment on or something, or 2 months worth. So that was over as well. But overall, we are favorable to budget there. And when we compare to pre-COVID levels on the next page, those are the graphs that
Hey, Stothy.
James. Yes.
Just real quick on the previous page. I think moving forward, unless anybody else thinks otherwise, things like the bank and credit card fee and the like liability insurance, which is going to fluctuate with the percentage of either revenue we take in or amount of credit card transactions. Those are just kind of, they are what they are, but we don't really have any control over them. So you probably don't need to report those if there is that much of a variance, just because it's kind of a static number that's attached to the rest.
If you're okay with that, then we'll definitely do that, because that is really basically a function of activity or revenue. So that will trend in the same way. So okay, we'll do that going forward. Thank you.
Sure.
So the next page is the pre-COVID comparison, and when we compare it to, we've been comparing it now to April of 2019, because it was April of 20, actually March, April of 20 was when COVID started. So the drops were there. So that's why we're not comparing it to April of 2020. So when you compare that, you can see it by category. James has a lot of this data and prepared these graphs so we could see the different revenue sources and the overall expense buckets. So you can see the blue is pre-COVID from April 19, and the red is April of 2022.
So we're still doing a very good job when it comes to the expense side of things. We're still running pretty lean and mean compared to pre-COVID, which is what we're going to try and hang on to, because at this point we don't really know what's going to happen, right? Another variant could show up in 3 months and really bury us again. So we're trying to run as lean and mean as possible for the foreseeable future, until we start seeing some of those revenue numbers climb back up to the pre-COVID levels. So that's kind of just where we stand now, just to give a little background for the new members.
And then on a transient basis, you can see the revenue, just on the transient revenue, is about at 71% of pre-COVID. On the demand side, the activity levels are actually April to April at almost 97%. And that's really, that disparity is really because of the railroad stations being down, and the average ticket there is $12 all day, so that's driving that variance. The monthly side, the revenue is about almost 86% of pre-COVID. So these are interesting stats all around. If you see on the next page, the total system-wide activity and that transient number I was just talking to you about, you can see the trends there over the last 3 fiscal years. And that purple line you can see coming back from the Omicron variant. And you can see it by location as well. Next page, Rocky permit side. We kind of talked about it. It's pretty stable, coming back a little bit, but not quite back to pre-COVID levels yet. And on street has been much more active, and a lot more activity there, and you can see that. On the enforcement side, that sometimes mirrors the on-street side, more activity. You'd expect some more enforcement going on consistently. But over the last month, it did kind of tick down. So if you go into the page 9, we get to the Judd report, which all the new members will come to know and love. That is trending in the right direction, right, Judd?
Yes, sir.
And that report is really just a comparison of the tickets issued compared to the activity or demands in that ratio. The pay by sell on page 10 has come back and is strong. Obviously in 2021 on that bottom bar graph, that was COVID time period that was the cause of that drop. But outside of COVID, there's been a steady and marked increase year over year. So it's been a great program for us.
Yeah, that's great.
And that is the end of the report, unless there is questions.
Staffy, just you may have said this. The blue column there in the bottom, that would represent 2019.
That's fiscal year 19. So that would be July 2018.
Oh, I see the key. All right, sorry, I missed that. Yeah. Okay. All right, I got it.
Yeah. And if there's no other questions, if you don't mind, I'm going to transfer.
I think Matthew has a question.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to do this to you because I know that you have to leave, but I want to get a couple of nitpick questions out of the way just to get myself up to speed, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real quick. So what constitutes other revenue versus parking revenue?
So other revenue, and let me see if I can kind of share the financial statement that's in your, well, it's not in your packet, but other revenue is things like lease income from the railroad station facility where we have concessions.
Yep,
It
concession
also
vending.
includes,
Good to go.
oh, yep, it also includes lease income that we have at Yankee Doodle Garage. It also includes, let's see, I said the railroad station concessions, any advertising revenue that we get. We also
ATM
track-
machines, things like that.
Yep, the ATM machines are there. Any
Got it.
investment income too, which comes from the city reporting that to us, and I think that's more like interest income on where they invest the fund balance. And we had an art program before in the Maritime Garage, and there was a curator, and she would sell, if artwork was sold, there was a commission that the parking authority received, and so we tracked that there. It's not
I'll
not nearly a
let you go. I'll
significant-
let you off the hook there. I'm picking up what you're
No,
putting down.
No
Uh,
problem. I'm not gonna be leaving. I'm just gonna be transferring to my phone.
Okay.
Because I have to pick up my father at the hospital, so that's all. So no
Sathy, I
problem.
believe Pam
Um,
has a question as well.
Yes, Pam.
Under operating expenses, I just want clarification on the service contract. Is that the service contract with LAZ?
No, so.
What does that
service
represent?
Contract, the service contracts include outside third-party vendors that provide different services, like the meter company that provides the single space meters. There's like fees associated with their service, the multi-space meters, the Calais pay stations that are in the lot and are on the street, those kind of service fees. Another company called G-Techna, who provides our enforcement equipment and LPR system. There's service maintenance fees associated with all of that. This month, I was telling you, there was a little variance too. The city auditor fees came through there. There was, let's see, we had consulting fees from somebody who was doing some work on the Yankee Doodle garage. That came through there. And there's some other, small fees here and there.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and another question. Is ticketing like supposed to be good for us, or because people hate it? No, I just have a question on the ticketing thing. We
You mean,
track it?
you're referring to the Judd report, or just ticketing in general?
Well, no, this whole report, you want it to go up, or do you want it to go down? I mean, I need to, I kind of like. don't
We want it to go
understand.
down. We want it to go down. It's
Okay.
not, it's certainly
Yeah,
not the
we want people to
intention.
pay. We want people to pay for parking, and when there's increased compliance, there is less ticketing. There's, no reason to ticket if people are paying.
Okay, thank you.
That's the idea.
If I can just jump in real quick. Hi, Pam. We haven't had an opportunity to meet yet. I'm Jim Travers. Unfortunately, I apologize to the team. I was stuck in horrendous traffic. And I'm a safe driver, so I don't get on my phone while I'm driving. I couldn't get in there. But Pam, I do look forward to touching base with you, in the near future. And to answer your question, yes, we the issue for us is really, I want to see people pay for parking and not and lessen the amount of tickets. And we're looking at other ways that we do analyze the ticket issuance and try to find trends to see what we can do to maybe alleviate those. For example, last year we did see a fair amount of tickets being issued at the beach. And I think that was a point of frustration for people who went to the beach, right? So while the beach contract currently is really operated, with LAS, but separately through the Parks Department, we really stepped in and said, we need to take a look at what we can do for signage there and make it more clearer. So James has spent pretty much the winter working with the Parks Department and creating new signage. And we just put all new signage so that we could increase the level of compliance, which will hopefully then decrease the level of ticket issuance.
Okay, thank you.
But I hate it too, so just.
Yep, I think everybody hates it.
Thank you, Sathy. So Jim, we briefly welcomed Matt and Pam, but do you want to elaborate on that?
So sure. So as you know, so last night, both Pam and Matt were presented to the Common Council, by the recommendation of the mayor to fill some vacant seats that are in the parking authority. I can't tell you how absolutely thrilled I am to have you join, you guys join the team. Matt, you and I know each other for, although briefly, from the incredible work that you do in the mall. And I think from a perspective of really, managed parking, you're probably going to exceed any level of skills of managed parking that we have going from your expertise. And Pam, while you and I do not have an opportunity to get to know each other yet, I hear incredibly wonderful things about you from a lot of people. So you have certainly made your splash. And
I'm not
I think
that good.
What?
I'm not what everybody thinks I am.
I don't know. I'm trusting some really great people. So, but I think this is really interesting for us. So for you guys, Matt, you and I met, early on in my here, but Pam, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, Garrett and I both joined the city to head the department that the mayor had created, about a year prior. And from my perspective, I've been in the field for a very long time. I used to head the Department of Transportation, Traffic and Parking under the DeStefano administration in the city of New Haven. And then when Mayor DeStefano retired, I headed the Transportation Bureau in the city of Stamford until coming to Norwalk. So have a significant knowledge of this, and we're working on a number of projects. But what we're really looking at from the parking realm is increasing our visibility, really understanding that it's a wonderful asset that we have as a city. We're a growing city, right? So how we interact has to change, and managed parking, becomes a little bit more critical, as growth occurs in really these dense urban areas, so that we could ensure that, businesses are successful, that they're not taken up by residents, and, that they're their need. But that being said, we're really cautious about how that comes. We're looking at increasing the technology. James and I have had a conversation. He will be attending the parking show that's going to be taking place in New Orleans this year, really looking at new technology for us for contactless parking in our garages, really looking at what are enhancements to meters and pay stations. What do we have for, James looking at signage. We have had conversations about what we find to be some confusing signage and how we could get that. So it's a work in progress, right? But we get to work with Vanessa, who is our principal engineer. And, so she's been heading a lot of the facilities investments that we've been doing, keeping our facilities in a state of good repair. And I think when I came on board, I heard Staffy talking about a consultant for the Yankee Doodle garage. We're currently under review that was approved by by members of the board prior to this, is really looking at how we could put in an investment into the Yankee Doodle garage that's going to modernize it, as the city looks to make a significant investment in the tune of about $15 million in the Wall Street corridor. The garage was a key point of contention in talking with the community over there. It's dated and needs somewhat modernization, and we want to give it a little bit of a facelift, and with respectful to the dollars that we have to do that. But we think that we could certainly share with you some of the concepts, but we will be having a meeting in June with the Wall Street Neighborhood Association to talk about the final look of that garage. You guys are welcome to attend, but I'd love to get a time that James and I are out with you, give you a little tour, get you up to date and up to speed as much as we can. But really, I am ecstatic over the fact that you are both on the team. I think that you're going to be incredible assets to us as we continue to manage the process and grow and really become an integral part of the city. So thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
All right.
And we certainly share those sentiments. So then next is the engineering reporting Webster lot update. James, you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Webster lot the asphalt has been laid and the lot has been striped and marked out. We did find an issue with that. When the striping was finished, we found during the audit that they had shorted us a few spaces in a couple of rows. So the contractor is going to be coming back to hydroblast those off and restripe. And then from there, we'll inspect it, make sure it's good. And then the last step in the project is the landscaping. I believe that's going to be taking place within the next 2 to 3 weeks. There's still a little variable in there based on some of the deliverables for some of the trees. Like everything else in this world, everything takes forever to buy right now. So unfortunately, we're a little bit behind the 8 ball on that, but the lot is currently fully usable. All spots are open and the restriping will be done in the evening and night hours moving forward to lessen the impact on the businesses and the patrons who use that lot. So that's kind of where we are there.
All right, if I could just chime in just for the update of Matt and Pam, what James is talking about is we've made, earlier or at the latter part of last year, we received a grant to do some improvements to the Webster lot or Sono Plaza. And that was really looking at some, underground water retention. As you know, it's a large impervious surface. And when we have storms, which, are coming at more frequency at higher levels, the drainage facilities that we have there, we're not keeping up with it. So what we did was install some green infrastructure here. So James was talking about some plants that are going to go in islands that will allow rainwater to permeate through the ground versus having to go into the storm system. And additionally, what we did was we put some retention tanks underneath the parking lot so that it could hold excess water, in the event that the storm drain system overflows. It'll do that till it can safely get in. So it'll alleviate some of the challenges out there, but it was a green infrastructure grant, and we're at the end right now where we repaved about half of the lot, which is what we disturbed to do the improvements. And then we will be finishing up with the plantings and the striping, and this lot will be done. So just wanted to give them an update since they, we gave them an update of where we are, but they didn't know the history. So
Yeah, fair enough. A little background always helps.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, James, or Jim, and Jane. So Vanessa, the South Norwalk Railroad Garage.
I don't believe Vanessa is joining us.
Okay.
So we are looking to get an extension for a little bit more money. We're looking at $150,000 for the repairs and improvements that are going on at the South Norwalk garage. We did have some contingency built in to the contract previously. We did decide to move forward with the replacement of some of the failed windows on the New York bound side of the railroad station. And that has taken up pretty much what was left over of our contingency. So we're looking to have to get a little bit more money to make sure that if we run into any issues, we have the ability to take care of them because we are getting pretty close to the end of our funding for that project. We don't expect to go over by nearly $150,000, and obviously whatever we don't use just stays in that account. We just want to make sure that we are covered moving forward, so we don't have to come back and bring this to a vote, 2 or 3 more times in the off chance we need it. Excuse me.
So then it says we have to vote on that. So then how does that affect the budget? Where does when we agree, if, you know, when we vote and if we allow the additional funds, where does that come from?
So it comes from these 3 account numbers that are listed here. They are capital accounts from the city. And I have verified that the funding does exist in all 3 of these accounts. It will exhaust one account and we'll just use the remaining from the second account.
And those are parking authority accounts, I assume, right? They're not.
Yes.
And that's what they're for, this sort of
Yes.
thing.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So if there's certainly if there's more discussion, we can continue to discuss it. But if not, then it sounds like we need to have a motion to approve.
Yeah, you would need a motion to approve, Chairman, because this would be this is really not the mayor, and that shouldn't be on there because you're really authorizing the issue, as a chairperson for the authority. This is out of the purview of the mayor. So again, you'll recall under the prior chairman really wanted to look to address those failed windows. So we added that to the contract, and as James was talking about, use the contingency. And because we were working so close to the track, it did increase the amount of money that we had to pay the force account. The force account is what we have to pay for service for Metro North to work next to the rail line. They have to provide flaggers for the event of a train. So we've exhausted that. And as James says, we don't expect to use the entire 150, but we wanted to put a cushion in there because we don't know what the remaining force account charges from Metro North will be. We anticipate that they're going to be much lower there, but to avoid having to come back again, we just did it all in one swoop. And
so aside from the work that's been completed, and it sounds like the additional work of the windows, how far along is that project?
So they're doing much of the caulking and remaining power washing that exists now. There's a little more of the making sure we don't have water infiltration, and then the last would be to create the area for the vending machines, so that we just formalize the look of the wait area a little bit, and you provide. And the other one was where we were adding to put a window to create like a customer service area on the New Haven bound side. We're seeing a little bit more of challenging activity that occurs on the New Haven bound side. So we wanted to make sure that Vlaz had an ability to staff that with an open window to have access to the waiting area, so that we could address it, and have, put the customer service person a little bit more where it's needed, versus, on the other side of the tracks.
And just to get a little more granular on Jim's point, I did talk to engineering to get some updates on the project, and where 90% of the northwest facade has been power washed, 80% of the northwest facade has been caulked, 50% of the southern helix has been power washed, and also 50% has been caulked for the southern helix. And there was a 6x12 concrete patch that was done on the northeast elevation. The 2 expansion joints that were scheduled to be installed, that's been complete as well. 2 of the metal X braces on the northwest facade have been cleaned and painted. And the waterproofing of the building for the SNU offices is 100% complete. The windows have fully been installed. They're 100% complete. And also the bird netting that was supposed to go at the top of the windows on the New York bound side is also 100% complete. The Capasso expects to be done is right now, based on the schedule, they expect to be done around August 1st. Obviously that can change, but that's kind of the schedule that we're on right now.
Okay, all right, great. So then we need unless there's further discussion, can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize the chairman of the parking authority to execute amendment number 1 to July 22nd, 2021 agreement with GL Capasso for project number 4120, TMP 2021-2 exterior repairs and improvements at the South Norwalk Railroad Station and Garage.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? Great, thank you. So James, at the calf pasture parking.
Yes, so as Jim alluded to earlier, we've made some significant changes down at Calf Pasture Beach. Just to give a little bit of background, one of the things that I do on a monthly basis is I sit in on all of the citation hearings. And through that process over the fall months, I realized that, a high percentage of the citations that came in were for parking at Calf Pasture. And based on listening to the testimony of the people that were coming in, it was simple signage and confusion that was causing the trouble. It didn't seem like there was any nefarious action going on. It wasn't people weren't trying to pay. They either didn't need to, or they just happened to park in the wrong area. So after, putting all of that information together, I went and sat with the Parks Department and opened up the line of communication with them regarding this issue. And they were completely on board. So I sat down and created did a complete audit of the entire beach area and what we could do for this upcoming season to implement some better wayfinding and more clear signage on where to park and how to pay based on how you plan on using the beach, whether that's going to Ripka's restaurant, whether you're a resident, whether you're a non-resident. So there's a lot of flow that goes on down there depending on how you plan on using that beach. So it's very, very important that we help point you in the right direction based on, what you plan on doing when you go there. That project has been 100% completed. And I'm just going to share a few images with you guys. Bear with me here as I switch screens.
But James, while you're bringing that up, the things that have been implemented, how would we monitor the results?
So there's a couple ways to do it. We monitor the complaints that are given directly to the employees that are there. And we can also monitor we can compare the amount of citations written at this time directly to last year and the year before. So now we can look at trends and see, are we seeing the amount of citations that are being written on a monthly, weekly, quarterly basis go down? Are we seeing them go up? Are we seeing them stay? And then we can kind of reevaluate based on that information.
Because it would be interesting, I think, in the report that Stati had at the beginning to track this somehow. So if it's a graph or a chart or something that has the components you just mentioned.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Well, we can put a page in there that gives, the 2019, 2020, 2021, so we can see the trend, from month to month and year over year.
Yeah, and then we'll know that, at the moment in time that the changes were made, we should be able to see the effect of them.
Exactly. And that's the reason why we wanted to do it over the winter and get it done before Calf Pasture opened for the season. So we could have an easier time with the analytics and comparing from year over year, which we were able to do. So everything was completed before they went live on the 15th.
Yeah, cool. Good. Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Let me just share my screen here. All right. Can you guys see the image that's up?
Yep.
All right. So for a lot of the wayfinding signage, we wanted to keep the theme of the park, right? And it's the same signage that we use through all the parks in Norwalk. So we designed the wording for the signage and the locations, and the Parks Department went through and custom built all of these the signs that you'll see. So this is one sign further down the line as you enter that kind of helps guide, where to turn if you are a non-resident to use the beach. There's another large sign here, which helps guide you whether you're a resident, whether you're a non-resident, or whether you're just coming to visit visit Ripka's restaurant that's down there. And depending on where you're going, if you turn right because you're looking for Ripka's, as you get to the next intersection or area, there's another sign there to help direct you to the correct row, because there is a specific row of parking spaces there that are free parking for Ripka's visitors. So to help support that business. So we, one of the things that came up a lot where people were like, oh, I was just going down to visit Ripka's. I was only there for 30, 45 minutes and I received a citation. And they had no idea that there was free parking for Ripka's visitors. So part of that, we wanted to make sure we got that out there, because the last thing we want to do is not help support that business and give people the option to use those spaces. They're there for a reason, so let's utilize them. Here's one of the Ripka's parking signs. I should have taken this image from a little further away, but you can, as soon as you come around the corner, the only corner that you come around, this sign pops from as far away as possible. Now you cannot miss this row at all for where these spaces are. So I think, we did make a lot of changes down there. I think this one is going to be the most helpful. Because, if we provide those spaces and people don't know they're there, and you take a trip down there, they're empty all the time. So I think this is going to really help bring visibility to those. This is from a little bit further away. You can kind of see how visible the signs are and how well they pop. This kind of helps guide. You've got your resident parking only beyond this point, and also Ripka's parking. Oh, there you can actually see it. So this is just as we came around the corner. There's the brightly colored Ripka's sign in the background. It's the same colored theme as the restaurant, which helps kind of connect those two things together and help guide you into finding those parking spots.
And the restaurant was you really improved the signage too, and I think is appreciative of the efforts that were made. So they signed off on it.
And then there's just another sign for where the Ripka's parking is at the end of the aisle, and directly where that arrow is pointing is the first space for Ripka's. Along with these images, we've also revamped the signage along the beachfront, where we were able to be more clear and precise with our signs while reducing the amount of signs there, increasing the ambiance of the beach. And we've also all of the park mobile signs that existed in the non-resident area, they have been relocated into more specific locations inside the non-resident parking area to make it very clear that A, you do need to pay when you are parked here, and B, here is how to park. Here's here's your zone number. Here's exactly how to do it. If you need the app, there's a QR code on the signs where you can download the app right then and there. So I think we should see a very large reduction in the amount of citations written here at the beach this year. And the nerd in me is very excited to analyze those numbers as I move forward. So that's the update on the beach and the signage and everything we did down there. Any questions on that program?
Nope, it's good.
All right,
Great.
perfect.
Excellent. Thank you, James. Yeah, there it is. Thank you, James. So new business, is there anything to introduce?
Eric, would I have a moment to speak? I just want to share some really exciting news with the board.
Sure, yes.
So I have some really great news to share. Since joining the city, and actually prior to joining the city, one of the neighborhoods that Jim and I looked at and saw just that there is so much potential for was Wall Street, and we were really excited upon joining the city to see that the administration and the mayor shared the vision. And some funding was allocated in last year's fiscal budget to conduct a large planning study and design study to really create some shovel-ready project plans and really start to transform the neighborhood. So I wanted tonight to announce and formally invite you to the first public workshop we're holding for the Wall Street Corridor Improvement Project, which will take place on June 14th. And it will take place from 4 to 8 p.m. We've reserved the Wall Street Theater to hold that event. And it will be a public workshop to solicit feedback from the entire community about what we really think the future vision for Wall Street is. So, Jed, I know we've had many a conversation about how we can improve parking. James has been in many meetings and conversations about, some of the challenges with parking, and this is an opportunity to improve the way parking functions on the street. Jim also mentioned we brought forward before this board in the past some improvements to the Yankee Doodle garage, and that's something that we're currently studying. And as part of this Wall Street Corridor improvement study, we're going to look at how we really improve connectivity to some of our major assets in that neighborhood. So whether it be the Yankee Doodle garage, the Mechanic Street lot, the Main Street lot, how we really redesign the streetscape, start to create some alleys and connections to really drive people into the garages, and then reconfigure some of the existing parking, which is challenged on the street. But I have a flyer that I'll send out to the board afterwards. The website just went live today. So if you go to www.norwalkct.org/Wall Street Norwalk, you can start to see some of the preliminary project materials that we have and that we'll be sharing on that date. I'll follow up with a flyer, and you'll start to see mass communications go out at the end of this week, just before Memorial Day. But we are really excited for this project, and we think it's going to be really transformative. It is the Wall Street neighborhood, and the street itself is one of the major city east-west connections, and we have very limited connections across the Norwalk River. It's an important one, and we're going to look at how we can completely transform it, provide better connectivity for all modes, and improve both mobility and parking within the neighborhood. So we hope to see you there. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And Matt and Pam, I just wanted to say welcome to the committee and look forward to sharing more about this project with you moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. Yeah, I was just trying to open that page. So please send the flyer. I must have gotten the address wrong.
Yeah, I'll send it right over.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, excellent. Is there other new business? So under old business is the lease updates. James, I don't think there's much to say about that, but
Yeah, so we I was able to, after last month's vote, we moved forward with using the leasing agent, and they are slowly going through and analyzing all of the leases that need to be re-signed with all parties. And the Lobstercraft lease in particular, there are some inconsistencies in the lease compared to what actually exists there. So the leasing agent took a look, and the couple of differences compared the lease now compared to what actually exists. The current lease calls for 350 square feet. On the first floor, that is actually 540 square feet. And Lobstercraft also uses the basement area, which is 519 square feet. And that was not in the original lease and not called out. So the leasing agent looked at the contract and decided that the original price per square foot, which was 30.85, was an accurate number, and they still were very comfortable using that number moving forward. So all we've done is included the correct square footage, and with the basement square footage, we have used 1/4 of the price per square foot of the first floor. That's because the basement is not a customer facing area. It's used for, that's where the fridge and the freezer is. There's some storage down there. So they felt that offering that at a lower price per square foot was a more accurate representation. So this lease basically includes all the correct square footage for the area that they're using and doesn't adjust the price per square foot at all. It just includes that to come up with the new rent for Lobstercraft. So sorry, go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to ask, so So the current lease, oh, so you're saying, I see it. So the current lease has $30.85 a square foot, and the proposed lease has the same amount.
That's correct.
Okay,
Except for the basement area. The basement area is 1/4 of the first floor.
yeah, okay. Are there other tenants, or not, I guess they're tenants, right? Are there others in there in the station that have similar configurations?
Yes, so they're not to this magnitude. There are others like the coffee shop on the New York bound side, which needs to be re-signed as well. The leasing contractor looked at that, or the leasing agent, I'm sorry, has also evaluated that lease. And I was going to talk about that next, but I'll just throw it in here. They do not see any changes needed in that lease. All of the pricing looks spot on. So the only thing we need to do is just get it re-signed with the proper parties.
Okay.
There are a few other leases that we have that they have not had a chance to get to yet. But I will hopefully be able to bring those to the board next month.
James,
And
I'm
Matt, I
sorry.
believe you had a question?
I do. Just so we have an existing lease through 23 with an option through 28 with Lobster Craft, is that it?
That is correct.
And our leasing agent believes that we have the right to remeasure as part of the existing leases structure?
Yes, we do.
Excellent. Okay.
James,
So, Matt, I
where
think it's also.
are the
worth
extra
noting-
square footage coming from?
So like for the first floor, for example, the
Yeah, it's
350 to 540.
169 square foot increase.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know where it came from because that space was never 350 square feet. So I don't know if it was a typo. I don't know how it got in there. But that space, we have the engineering schematics for that space, and it does call out 540 square feet.
Matt, maybe you know something about this, but in this kind of measurement, is it measured from the outside dimension or the inside usable space?
This is the inside usable space.
Inside, okay.
Yes.
That seems reasonable to me, so.
I think for Matt and Pam, we were doing in-house the leasing agreements, and we're parking, right? So what we opted to do was find a property manager. So now, and we signed an agreement with the property manager who it will actually oversee the lease agreements going forward to make sure that we don't have an issue of he went through, redefined all, re-verified all of the square footage, and is looking at the correct dollar amounts and market rate for each of the spaces. Should any spaces become available, they would also then be responsible for securing a new tenant for those spaces. So. And then we'll just continue to manage the space.
Thank you, Jim.
So the difference in rent to start, it will go from $927 a month to $1,721.81. 82 cents, I'm sorry. So at this point, if there are no other questions, which I'd be happy to answer, I think we just need to vote to move forward with these numbers.
So if there's no.
Go ahead, Eric.
I was just saying, if there's no further discussion, can we have a motion to approve?
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve the new terms, dimensions, pricing for the Lobster Craft lease at the Sono Railroad Station.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
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 Unanimous? Great, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
So then, James, I think the last one was the last item was the not fines, the ticketing.
The enforcement.
Enforcement, yes.
Yeah, this is the one I'm very excited to talk about. And Pam, I know you had a question earlier about enforcement, so this might help shed some light and background. So over the past about 2 months, I've been working with Laz to really analyze our entire enforcement program as a whole. That includes one-on-one interviews with all of our enforcement officers, conducting ride-alongs with the enforcement officers who do the driving to look at the facilities, analyzing all of our citation data for the last 5 years, and talking to Rocky and picking his brain, and talking to some other municipalities about some of the things that they do, and to help kind of just have a better understanding of enforcement as a whole here in Norwalk. And based on those conversations, we on Monday of this week, excuse me, started implementing some of those changes. And so now we are going to start monitoring the data for the citations. So we can see, you know, are these changes having a positive effect? Are these changes having a negative effect? No change at all. And then as we progress, then we can start implementing, you know, a few more changes here and there. Because I didn't want to kind of go crazy and do all these changes all at once, because when you introduce that many variables, it's very difficult to understand which change had which effect. So I felt like doing
All right, looks like we lost James. So we can give him a minute to come on. I'm sorry, I have a crazy dog. Somebody rang the doorbell and, you know, has to save the world. So my apologies on my dog. All right, so where did we leave off? I apologize. I had to.
We were just getting into which SOP changes we're starting to implement so that we could track those changes and their effect.
All right. Scott, are you talking?
Oh, sorry.
No, okay. Sorry, you just showed up.
Maybe shed some light and I'll go on mute again.
Okay, sorry. You know, so, you know, I think the part of really what we're doing, and just, you know, I could do a high level, is just, you know, I think under our direction, we really, you know, I have a firm policy, like, you know, what isn't measured isn't managed, right? And we didn't do a great job of managing and measuring before. So we are really looking to measure that data and then have more data-driven decisions that drive our policy, and, you know, and support our position. I think that, you know, we're easier to support where we are when we have the data, and so James has been spending an inordinate amount of time, you know, not only trying to have some feet on the street where we actually are knocking on doors, talking to people, but also so measuring that and looking, you know, at the data, at the areas, you know, where are the meters that are paying for themselves, where is our enforcement occurring, what type of tickets are issued, so that we could have it. I think James is looking to come back. So James, I just gave a high level of where we are, but if you had any of the details, you could have it back.
No, thank you. I was actually able to listen. I immediately picked up the phone and called in so I could at least hear what you guys are saying while I reconnected. So thanks, Jim.
Okay.
Yeah, so, you know, we looked at routes, we looked at schedules, we looked at our hours of operation. I mean, we looked at absolutely everything. So we've implemented those changes, as I said, on Monday of this week, and we're going to monitor them for a 3-week period. I felt like that was a good enough chunk of time to analyze the data, compare it to the previous 3 weeks, and even month over month and year to year. And also day to day, because we all know, you know, Mondays don't act the same as Wednesdays or Fridays. You know, nightlife on Fridays is a lot more popular than Mondays. I mean, most restaurants aren't even open on Mondays sometimes. So that way we can do a good comparison between apples to apples, you know. So I just wanted to let you guys know that those changes are implemented. We are monitoring them, and at the next NPA meeting, we'll be able to kind of speak on those numbers and see some of the differences and the changes to the program, how they've done.
Yes, so James, that all sounds great. Thank you. And similar to the thinking earlier, if there's a way to track things when something changes, it would be nice to be able to track after the change.
Yes, absolutely. That's that's the analytical mind that I can't ever escape, unfortunately, is making sure that you're following scientific theory when you're implementing new changes, to make sure that when you are comparing something or starting something specifically, you're just doing it the right way. That way you can analyze and make decisions based on that information, knowing and being comfortable with the fact that it is accurate.
And so, because this effort is focusing on enforcement. So you're changing the standard operating practice for enforcement. And so, yeah, it would be really good to know the impact of that, because certainly our objective isn't to, derive all of our funds from ticketing.
Absolutely. We want a fair and balanced enforcement system, and we want, it's a necessary evil, right? It has to exist, but we want to make sure we're doing it right and we're doing it fair. And I think that's really important that we look in and dig this deep, because I'm not sure how deep down this rabbit hole anybody has gone before. And so I think it's really important that we make sure we look at this properly, so we can make some good practice decisions moving forward.
Excellent, thank you. So I think that's everything that was on our agenda. If there is anything to add, please, anybody jump in. But if not, I would welcome Pam and Matt again, and just reiterate how great it is to have you on board. And if you need or want to, any discussion about the parking authority, if there's any insight that I could give you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and be happy to discuss or provide anything that I can.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So with that, if there's nothing further, then we'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
You'll be our adjourn motioner for the future.
You'll be the new Tom. Tom was
Yeah,
always
right.
a great one.
I was waiting to see who was going to speak up, because they could take time. They took the baton.
All right.
All right, so we'll have a second on that.
I'll second it.
There you go. Well, thanks everybody. All in favor, obviously. Aye. So thanks everybody, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too.
Thank
Thanks
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good night,
Hope to see
everybody.
everyone on the 14th.
Good night.
Thank you.